What you are about to witness is not just a story. It's a reflection of what fear and prejudice can do to a human being. The account of lives hunted, persecuted, simply for being different. But there is more than pain and suffering in this place. In every shadow, there is light. In every cry, there is a fight for survival. And on this island, the survivors are not just witnesses to the past. They hold the key to the future. You think you know what happens here. But what you will see, what you will hear, will challenge everything you've imagined. This island, hidden from the eyes of the world, holds secrets that few dare to tell. Until now. Prepare yourself for a journey. A journey of discovery, of courage, and of transformation. But above all, prepare to face a truth that many fear to confront. This is the place where history is rewritten, where the invisible become visible, and where the real fight for life and dignity is waged. What you will see here will not be easy. But it's the only way to understand the truth. Chapter 1, Shadows of the Past. Amina.
I remember the first time my mother hid me. I was only 5 years old. She grabbed my hand, her eyes filled with fear, and took me to the back of the house. I didn't understand what was happening. All I wanted was to play, to run with the other children. But instead, she closed the door hastily, locking it with a click that echoed in my heart. They said my skin was a curse. That I was different, and because I was different, there was no place for me in their world. I didn't know what it meant to be different. I only knew that the color of my skin made me something that shouldn't exist. The children in the village looked at me with fear and curiosity. And the adults. Oh, the adults. They murmured things I couldn't understand. One day, a woman in the village pointed at me and said I had the power to bring bad luck. They said I wasn't human, that my presence would only bring trouble. I didn't know how to respond. I just wanted to understand why my skin made me different, why I couldn't be like the other children. At night, my mother prayed silently. She told me not to leave the house, not to walk alone. The others, they didn't understand. And I didn't know how to explain. I didn't know that the fear of my skin would follow me all my life. But back then, all I wanted was one thing. To be seen as a child, like any other. I didn't understand why the world around me was so afraid of something as simple as the color of my skin. But what I didn't know at that time, was that behind this fear, there was a fight for my survival. And that fight would take me to a place where I could finally be who I am.
Chapter 2, The Roots of Fear. Kofi.
At the heart of some traditional beliefs, albinos are seen not as human beings, but as symbols of mystical power. The color of their skin, which for many is merely a physical trait, is for others a sign of something supernatural. Unfortunately, this distorted view leads to a brutal cycle of fear, violence, and exploitation. In Tanzania and in parts of Africa, albinism is associated with witchcraft and rituals, where it is believed that the body parts of an albino have magical powers or can bring good fortune. The pain, loss, and tragedy caused by these myths are unimaginable. These myths fuel an illegal trade, a cruel practice where the life of an albino is seen as currency, as a commodity. People are kidnapped, attacked, and often murdered because of this absurd belief. The impact of this fear is profound. It not only destroys lives but also isolates an entire population. For those living with albinism, the simple act of walking down the street can become an act of bravery. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a constant shadow, stretching over every step, every glance. But there is hope. Humanitarian organizations and activists are working tirelessly to dismantle these myths, educate communities, and protect albinos. While the fight is still arduous, small steps are being taken to dispel these superstitions and ensure that, at last, everyone is seen as equal. Behind every attack, every myth, there is a person with a story, a life, and a stolen future. This is the truth we must confront. Only then can we begin to break the cycle of fear and build a future where everyone, regardless of their appearance, can live in peace.
Capítulo 3 Refuge on the Island. Jabari. When we saw so many lives lost, we knew something had to be done. This island didn't come into existence by chance. It is the response of a community that could no longer stand idly by in the face of so much injustice. Each story of pain, each cry for help pushed us to act. The island is not just a shelter, it is a cry of resistance. When we began receiving those fleeing violence, our first mission was to give them what they needed most, safety. But we soon realized that this refuge meant much more than that. It wasn't just about escaping pain but about rebuilding a life, restarting hope. Here, the rules are different. There is no persecution, no fear. Every day, we are a community that grows and strengthens, united by a greater purpose, dignity. Volunteers and NGOs from around the world help create the conditions that today provide a future for those who, for so long, lived on the margins. There is something powerful in the union of so many who came from different parts of the world in pursuit of a single goal, to ensure that these brothers and sisters had the right to exist in peace. But we know this refuge is only part of the battle. The true victory will be when we no longer need a place like this. What we have seen grow here, in the tranquility of this island, is something that goes beyond physical protection. It is a symbol of resistance, of the fight for life. The island teaches us that even in the deepest shadows, there is always room for light. Chapter 4, Life on the Island.
Here, for the first time, I can walk without looking over my shoulder. The island has given me refuge, a place where the threat feels distant, where I don't have to hide in the shadows. But despite the peace I've found here, the truth is that the scars from my past life still run deep. The nights remain long, and the memory of fear still lingers. On the island, each day is both a struggle and a triumph. Food is scarce, and we have to work together to plant, fish, and care for one another. I've spent hours in the fields, the sun burning my skin, though shielded by my cape and sunscreen. These are daily challenges, but they are faced with the hope of a better tomorrow. Access to medical care is rare, something we all seek with great difficulty. But even with the limitations, we have what we need to survive: friendship, mutual support. We are more than just survivors. Here, we are a community. Here, we learn from one another. And that, in itself, is a victory. I remember the first time I started teaching the children to read and write. Their eyes sparkled, eager to learn, as if reconnecting with a world that had always been denied to them. It was the first time I truly saw hope flourish, rather than fear. But there is still much to do. We cannot rest while even one of us remains in danger out there. Still, the truth is that, despite the hardships, we have found something here we never imagined we'd have: belonging. Here, I can finally be who I am, without the weight of others' judgment. And perhaps, that is the greatest victory of all.
Chapter 5, Beyond the Refuge.
The island represents more than just a physical refuge. It is a symbol of resistance. Here, lives are saved, but the true struggle goes beyond the walls that surround it. True change will not come until this refuge is no longer necessary. In Tanzania, superstition still haunts many, and albinism continues to be associated with myths and macabre rituals. But slowly, awareness is changing the narrative. Local and international organizations are tirelessly working to educate the population and dismantle the beliefs that fuel violence. The work of these organizations goes beyond physically protecting albinos. It is about restoring their dignity. The dignity that has been stripped from so many, who have lived and still live in fear. Yet, educational campaigns and awareness projects are reshaping this reality. We now see children in schools learning about the value of human life, about how every being is worthy of respect. This is more than a fight for survival. It is a fight for acceptance, to be treated with humanity, to be seen as equals. The struggle that began here, on the island, is now spreading across the country. And perhaps, one day, real change will occur when every human being, regardless of their appearance, is treated with the same respect and compassion.
Chapter 6, Voices of Hope.
Here on the island, I found something I never knew existed: peace. I am grateful for each sunrise, for the chance to see the sky without the fear that used to follow me. For years, I dreamed of a place where I wouldn't be seen as a curse, but simply as a person. And despite all the struggles, I've found my voice here. The future now seems possible. I want the children arriving here to see a fairer world, One where no one ever has to hide again.
We've done a lot, but there's still so much more to do. We've built this refuge, but the real transformation must happen outside of it. Superstitions and hatred don't disappear with distance, they fade with education and the courage to change hearts and minds. Our work isn't just about saving lives but also breaking down the barriers that divide us. Together, we will continue fighting for a future where everyone is seen as equal.
What we've witnessed here reflects a larger world. If each of us could see beyond the color of someone's skin, perhaps the world would be a less shadowed place for all of us. This island, with its story and struggle, teaches us that true strength lies not in division but in unity. And transformation begins within each of us. Scenes of unity on the island. A group of residents gathers around a campfire, sharing laughter and stories. Children run freely, smiling as they play. The island's horizon at sunset, illuminated in warm hues of orange and gold. As we look to the future, hope is our guide. And like the light of the sun at the end of the day, it reminds us that even after the shadows, there is always a new dawn.